Mom demanded $18,000 for my sister's wedding. When I refused, she stole it. Weeks later, both faced fraud charges and lost a $250,000 trust fund. Look, as a 27-year-old man, I've always understood that my mother played favorites. Growing up, you just accept certain things. Some children receive the spotlight, while others get the bill. I was usually the latter. My younger sister, Sophie, was the golden child from the start, with private school paid for, a car given to her at 18, and college tuition covered without her working a single shift. Meanwhile, I was trudging through community college and working nights at a warehouse to pay for textbooks. But this was a completely new level of scam. It was a Thursday evening around 7. I had just returned home from my job at the engineering firm, still dressed in my work clothes, ready to take a drink and unwind. That's when my mother entered my apartment. Yes, she still had the key. With that expression on her face, I knew I was about to hear something I'd regret. She didn't even sit down. I stood there in my living room, arms crossed, as she dropped it like a bomb. Ryan and Sophie's wedding is in 3 months. She needs $18,000. You're going to give it to her. Not can you help or would you consider, but a straight-up demand for $18,000? I sat down slowly with my drink, trying to digest what I'd just heard. Mom, that's my entire savings account. I've been working on that for 4 years. Her expression didn't change. That cold, calculated gaze she'd honed over decades. You don't need it right now. Sophie's getting married. This is her big day. Ethan, family comes first. Or did I raise you to be selfish? There it was. Guilt and manipulation, her go-to since I was a kid. Paint me as the bad guy for wanting to keep the money I earned from 60-hour weeks and skipped vacations. I took a breath and stayed calm. Mom, I worked my butt off for that money. Sophie's 26. Her fiancé Ryan has a job. They make twice as much as I do. If they can't afford their dream wedding, should they tone it back or save up? Wrong answer. Her face stiffened like concrete. So, you plan to disgrace your sister? Let her walk down the aisle in a low-cost venue because her brother's too rich to support the family? Everyone will know you declined. Your uncles, cousins, everyone. The threat was clear. She'd make me the villain at every family gathering for the rest of my life. Call me the selfish son who let his sister's wedding fall apart. Never mind that I'd helped before. I covered Mom's car payment twice last year. Paid for Sophie's emergency dental work, including cosmetic veneers. But sure, I'm the greedy one. I'm not paying for Sophie's wedding, I said firmly, looking her dead in the eyes. That's it. The temperature in the room dropped about 20 degrees. Mom's lips tightened into a thin line, her eyes dark. You're making a mistake, Ethan. A big one. Don't say I didn't warn you. She turned and stormed out, slamming the apartment door so hard it rattled the frame. I sat in the silence that followed. That sickening feeling in my gut told me this wasn't over. I should have changed my locks that night. Should have frozen my credit. Should have done a lot of things. But I thought even she wouldn't cross certain lines. Yeah, I was wrong about that. My phone was buzzing like crazy when I woke up Friday morning. 3 missed calls from my bank's fraud department and 2 text alerts. My stomach dropped before I opened them. I logged into my banking app, and my worst fears were confirmed. My available credit had plummeted. Nearly $18,000 in pending charges posted overnight. My checking balance was untouched. This was all on my credit card. The transaction history made me want to punch a wall. Wedding venue deposit, $6,000. Catering down payment, $5,200. Photography package, $3,400. Florist charges, $1,800. Dress alterations, $1,200. Reception decorations, $600. The charges kept coming, all within an 8-hour window. I kept my credit card locked in my desk drawer. My hands shook so much I could barely dial the bank. I spent 20 minutes on the phone confirming what I already knew. Someone had used my card for a shopping spree and had my full card details, including the CVV code. The fraud rep asked if anyone had access to my apartment. My mother has a key, I said. She asked for that exact amount yesterday. The rep went quiet for a moment. Sir, I'm sorry, but you'll need to file a police report for fraud. We can start the dispute process, but with family involved, things could get complicated. I hung up and sat on my couch, trying to wrap my head around it. My mother had broken into my apartment, found my credit card, and used it to pay for my sister's wedding. Nearly $18,000. Not asked, not borrowed, stolen. My friend Daniel, who I'd worked with for 5 years, texted to set up our usual Friday coffee run. He heard something in my voice when I replied. You sound like someone pissed in your cereal. What happened, dude? I told him everything. He paused before saying, Bro, you need to handle this now, or they'll keep doing it forever. He was right. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about my mother thinking she could rob me without consequences. I called my mother. She answered on the third ring, sounding cheerful, like she hadn't just committed felony fraud 14 hours earlier. "Morning, Ethan. I hope you've had time to think. You stole my credit card." I cut her off, my voice hard. "You stole $18,000. Silence, then her trademark patronizing tone. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. I didn't steal anything. I just handled things. Sophie needed help, and you were being stubborn. You'll thank me later when you see how beautiful the wedding is." This woman had some nerve. She didn't even deny it. Didn't apologize. Acted like she was doing me a favor. "I need my card back now, and you're going to cancel all those charges." She laughed. "Ethan, honey, it's already done. The deposits are non-refundable. Just accept it and move on. Besides, what are you going to do? Call the cops on your own mother?" There it was, the real power play. She thought I wouldn't press charges because of family loyalty and how it'd look, since she'd trained me never to make a scene. Too bad she miscalculated. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You've got 72 hours to return every cent, or I'm filing a police report." "You wouldn't dare." I hung up. Then I called the bank again and officially reported the stolen card and all charges as fraudulent. The rep walked me through the next steps, including filing a police report, which I scheduled for the next morning. Then I did something that would pay off later. I called my father. My parents divorced when I was 20, about 7 years ago. Dad had moved 2 states away, remarried, and started a new life. The divorce was messy. Dad found out Mom had been siphoning money from their joint accounts for years. That's why he left. He picked up on the second ring. "Ethan, everything okay?" "Dad, I need to ask about the will you mentioned before. The one Grandpa left." Saturday morning, I showed up at the police station with printed bank statements, transaction logs, text message screenshots, and a timeline of events. Inspector Laura Mitchell, the officer who took my report, was professional but initially skeptical. "You're filing charges against your mother for credit card fraud?" she asked, reviewing the documents. "Yeah, she stole my card from my apartment and spent my savings without permission. I have proof she was in my apartment." That got her attention. I pulled up the CCTV footage on my phone, which I'd gotten from my building management that morning. My mother sneaking into my apartment at night, leaving 55 minutes later with a small purse. Inspector Mitchell's expression shifted from skeptical to serious. "Mr. Carter, this is significant evidence. With this video and the financial records, we can definitely move forward. Are you sure you want to file charges?" "Absolutely." She nodded and started the paperwork. They told me it'd take a few days to process, that they'd need to question my mother and Sophie, and that I should brace for backlash. I was ready for the backlash. It was part of the plan. Meanwhile, Mom must have told Sophie what happened because my phone started filling with texts from my sister. Angry ones. "How could you do this to me? My wedding's in 10 weeks. Everyone will know you're a selfish jerk. I hope you're happy ruining my perfect day." Honestly, I kind of was. I didn't reply to any of them. Just screenshot everything and saved it to my evidence folder. My Uncle Robert, Mom's brother, called me Sunday evening. He'd always been more reasonable than her but avoided family drama. Usually. "Ethan, your mother called me in hysterics. Says you're trying to get her arrested over a misunderstanding." "Uncle Robert, she stole my credit card and spent $18,000 without my permission. That's not a misunderstanding." He sighed. "I'm not saying what she did was right, but is it really worth tearing the family apart? Can't you just work it out?" "Sure, you mean let her rob me in peace. She had a chance to make things right." She refused. "This isn't about money anymore. It's about them thinking they can do whatever they want without consequences." Long pause. "Your mother said something about fighting this. Said she had resources." That made my blood run cold. Resources meant lawyers, which is why my call with Dad the other day was so critical. After I hung up, I opened the folder Dad sent me overnight. Inside were documents about my grandfather's inheritance, specifically the trust fund he set up before he died 5 years ago. Grandpa had been a successful small business owner who sold his company for a decent chunk. Split the money among his kids and grandkids under strict trust terms. The key clause was buried in legalese. Any beneficiary convicted of fraud, theft, embezzlement, or financial crimes against another family member forfeits their entire share, which gets redistributed to the remaining beneficiaries. Mom's share was $200,000, held in a managed trust she couldn't touch until she turned 62 next year. Sophie had a smaller share, $50,000, unlocked when she turned 28. The best part? Grandpa named me the secondary trustee after Dad. If Mom was convicted of fraud, I could enforce the forfeiture clause. Every cent would go to me and my cousins. Dad had warned me about this clause years ago when the will was read. Grandpa said he included it because he'd seen Mom's manipulative tendencies and wanted to protect the family. Back then, I thought it was paranoid. Now I had the nuclear option. Monday morning, Inspector Mitchell called. "Mr. Carter, we've reviewed your case. With the evidence, we're moving forward with charges. Your mother will be contacted this week for questioning." "What about my sister? She knowingly benefited from the fraud." "That's trickier. If she didn't know the money was stolen, we can't charge her, but we'll question her." After we hung up, I texted Sophie. One simple message. "Every charge made with my stolen card needs to be returned immediately. You've got 72 hours. Her reply came in minutes. "Are you insane? The deposits are non-refundable. The wedding's in 9 weeks. I'm not canceling anything." I responded, "Then you'll be getting married while Mom faces fraud charges. Your choice. You're bluffing. You won't do this." I didn't reply. Wednesday morning, the bomb went off. Inspector Mitchell and another officer went to Mom's house to question her about the fraud charges. My Aunt Nancy, who lived nearby, sent me a play-by-play within an hour. Said the cops were there for an hour. Mom came out pale and shaken. Sophie screamed at them from the driveway. That afternoon, my phone rang. Mom's lawyer, James Lawson, who seemed to specialize in family law and white-collar defense. "Great. Mr. Carter, I represent Patricia Carter regarding the allegations you've made. I'm calling to discuss a resolution. My client acknowledges a misunderstanding about the use of your credit card. She's willing to set up a payment plan to repay the $18,000 over 14 months. In exchange, you drop the charges." I almost laughed. 14 months? A payment plan? What about the stolen money? Your client stole my card and committed fraud. There's video evidence. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's a crime. The answer's no. His tone hardened. "Mr. Carter, I advise you to reconsider. Pressing criminal charges against your mother will be costly, time-consuming, and irreparably damage your family relationships. Is it really worth $18,000? "Yes," I said bluntly. "Very well, but I must warn you, we'll mount a vigorous defense. This will get ugly. Looking forward to it." I hung up. After I hung up, my phone started buzzing with texts from family. Aunt Nancy, Uncle Robert, even cousins I rarely spoke to. All begging me to drop the charges, be the bigger person, think of Sophie's wedding. None called Mom's actions wrong. It was all about protecting her and ensuring Sophie's big day wasn't ruined. Funny how family comes first only when they need something from me. Everyone knew Mom favored some, controlled others, spoiled Sophie, but they went along because it was easier than confronting her. I was done making it easy. That evening, Daniel showed up with pizza and beers. He'd been checking in daily since the theft. "So, they got lawyers," he said. "You in trouble?" "Nah, I've got surveillance footage, bank records, and her own admission on a recorded call. She's screwed, and she knows it. The lawyer's just trying to limit the damage." "What about the wedding?" I pulled up Sophie's Instagram on my phone. She'd posted a long, dramatic story about how her toxic brother was trying to ruin her special day and how families should support each other. Comments were mostly supportive. Her friends didn't know the full story. I told Daniel she was playing the victim card hard. He shook his head. "Your family's wild, man. What's your endgame here?" I told him about the trust fund, Grandpa's forfeiture clause, and the $200,000 Mom could lose if convicted. He let out a low whistle. "Damn, that's strategic. It's justice. She spent my whole life taking from me, money, time, peace of mind. Now she's gonna learn a lesson. And Sophie's collateral damage. She could have done the right thing and refunded the charges. Instead, she's playing the victim." Daniel raised his beer. "Gotta say, man, I respect this. Most people would have caved by now." The next few days were a whirlwind of legal prep. Inspector Mitchell called with updates. The investigation was moving forward. They'd seized Mom's financial records and found evidence of other shady transactions. Apparently, Mom had borrowed money from family without permission before. Friday afternoon, a week after the theft, I got a call from Sophie's fiancé, Ryan. I barely knew him, but he sounded stressed. "Ethan, man, we need to talk. Can we meet for coffee? Just us." "Interesting." I agreed to meet him Saturday morning. Saturday morning, I got to the coffee shop early and grabbed a back corner table for privacy. Ryan showed up 10 minutes later, looking haggard, like he hadn't slept in days. He sat across from me. "Thanks for meeting me. I know things are a mess right now." That's one way to put it. He took a breath. "Look, I need you to understand something. I didn't know your mom stole that money. Sophie told me you'd agreed to help with the wedding and were happy to contribute." I leaned back, studying him. He seemed genuine. And you believed her, even though I never talked to you about the wedding? Sophie said you two had a complicated relationship and you were more comfortable going through your mom. I thought it was weird, but, he trailed off, running a hand through his hair. I wanted to believe her. We're getting married in 9 weeks. So what changed? The cops showed up at her apartment Thursday to ask questions. I was there, heard everything. When they left, I asked her point blank if she knew the money was stolen. She broke down and admitted everything. That got my attention. Everything? Ryan nodded, looking sick. Your mom didn't just steal your card that night. She'd been planning it for weeks. Sophie scoped out your place during a visit 3 months ago to see where you kept your wallet, documents, everything. Sophie suggested hitting the account at night when you'd be asleep and less likely to notice right away. My hands clenched into fists under the table. So Sophie wasn't just a passive beneficiary. She was in on it. The whole sweet sister act was just that, an act. She planned it with Mom. I asked, keeping my voice steady. Yeah, seems your mom's been trying to figure out how to get your money for months. Sophie's the one who pointed out you'd probably say no if asked directly, so they should just take it. I thought my trust issues couldn't get worse. Why are you telling me this? Ryan looked me in the eye. Because I'm not marrying someone who helps rob their own brother. I called off the wedding this morning. The words hung between us. I hadn't expected that. You called it off? Gave her the ring back an hour before I got here. Told her I couldn't build a life with someone capable of that kind of dishonesty. She's been calling and texting nonstop, but I blocked her. He pulled out his phone and showed me a string of increasingly desperate texts from Sophie. Ryan, please, it was Mom's idea. I'll make it right. Then, you'll regret this. She also said she'd tell everyone I ditched her at the altar, cheated, whatever to make her look like the victim. I'm ready for it, though. I've already told my family the truth. I respected the guy's spine. What do you need from me? Nothing, really. Just wanted you to know not everyone in this mess is against you, and I thought you deserved to know the full extent of their plan. There's more. Of course there was. Ryan opened his photos and showed me screenshots of texts between Sophie and Mom, planning how to access my apartment, discussing which vendors to book. Sophie even sent one saying, Ethan's too passive to really press charges. He'll fold as the wedding gets closer. That one stung. Can I get copies of those? Already emailed them to you. Figured the cops might need them for the case. We talked for another 30 minutes. Ryan shook my hand as we parted. For what it's worth, I'm sorry you're going through this. Your family's made you feel like you're the problem. You're not. Yeah, they are. I drove home in a daze, my mind reeling. My sister had actively conspired with Mom to rob me while posting on social media about how excited she was for her wedding, how grateful she felt, how much she loved her family. The manipulation was staggering. That afternoon, I forwarded Ryan's screenshots to Inspector Mitchell. She called me 20 minutes later. Mr. Carter, these texts are huge. If Sophie knowingly helped plan the fraud, we can charge her as an accomplice. Are you okay with that? I thought about all the times Sophie got away with stuff growing up. The lies, the stolen cash when we were kids, the time she wrecked my car and blamed me. Mom always covered for her, made excuses. Yes, I said. Charge her. The next week was chaos. Monday morning, Inspector Mitchell brought Sophie in for questioning. Based on Ryan's texts, they had enough to charge her as an accomplice to fraud. She was arrested Tuesday afternoon. My phone blew up with messages from family. Again, they were outraged that I'd let the police arrest Sophie, like I'd personally shown up with handcuffs. The best part? Mom's lawyer called me Wednesday. His tone was way different from before. Professional panic. Mr. Carter, in light of recent developments with your sister's arrest, my client wants to propose a settlement. She'll repay the full $18,000 immediately and cover your legal fees. In exchange, no. Mr. Carter, please hear me out. I said no. Your client had multiple chances to make this right. Now she faces the consequences. The prosecution's talking jail time, maybe 3 to 6 years, for fraud and identity theft. Is that really what you want for your mother? What I want is for her to be held accountable, just once in her life. Honestly, I just wanted to stop getting calls from expensive lawyers charging by the minute. He tried a few more angles. Family healing, fresh starts, focusing on the big picture. I shut it all down. Finally, he sighed. Mr. Carter, you're making a grave mistake. This will haunt you. Nah, I can handle it. Friday afternoon brought the moment I'd been waiting for. Inspector Mitchell called with an update. Mr. Carter, your mother's been officially charged with credit card fraud, identity theft, and felony theft. Your sister's charged as an accomplice. If convicted, they're both looking at significant jail time. But the prosecutor's office says they're open to a plea deal, provided both show remorse and make full restitution. What kind of plea deal? Probation, community service, a criminal record, no jail time if they comply and repay everything immediately. But there's a catch. They'd have to plead guilty in court and publicly admit their actions. Allocution means standing before a judge and confessing their crimes on the record, public humiliation, legal consequences, a permanent criminal record. When could this happen? Hearing scheduled for Monday. Both your mother and sister would need to agree to the terms by end of day today. Otherwise, it goes to trial. I thanked her and hung up. Then I waited. I wondered if Mom would swallow her pride and take the deal or if her ego would push for a trial. My phone rang 2 hours later. Mom's number. I let it go to voicemail. She called 3 more times and left a message. Her voice was shaky. Ethan, please pick up. We need to talk about Monday. The lawyer says we should take the plea deal. We don't have a choice but to admit everything in court. Everyone will know. Please, there has to be another way. Call me back. I didn't reply. Saturday morning, Sophie tried calling from a new number, probably a friend's, since I'd blocked her. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail too. Ethan, it's me. I know you're mad, but please don't take this to court. Ryan left me. The wedding's cancelled. All my friends know what happened. I've lost everything. I'm begging you to drop the charges. I'll pay you back myself. I promise. I'll get a job. I'll do whatever it takes. Please don't make us go through this. Her voice cracked at the end. She sobbed. I felt a twinge of something, not quite sympathy, maybe pity. Then I remembered her text to Mom, Ethan's too passive to follow through. I didn't reply. Turns out I'm not that passive. I'm sitting on my couch, passively watching it all unfold. Monday morning, I showed up at the courthouse. Inspector Mitchell said I didn't have to be there, but I wanted to see it through. Wanted to see them face what they'd done. Call it closure, call it petty, I'll call it both. The courtroom was small, with the usual mix of defendants, lawyers, and family. I sat in the back row. Mom and Sophie were up front with their lawyer, dressed like they were at a funeral. Sophie's eyes were red from crying, trying to play the sympathetic defendant. Cute. Judge Margaret Hayes, an older woman, presided over the case. Mom and Sophie stood as the charges were read. Judge Hayes peered over her glasses. How do you plead? The lawyer cleared his throat. Your Honor, both defendants wish to enter a guilty plea and accept the prosecution's plea deal. Very well. Mrs. Carter, Miss Carter, do you understand that pleading guilty means admitting these charges on the record? You'll have a criminal history. Mom's voice was barely audible. Yes, Your Honor. Sophie just nodded, unable to speak. Then allocute and tell me what you did. This was it. Now or never. Mom took a shaky breath and spoke, her voice hollow. I entered my son's apartment without permission in the middle of the night. I took his credit card from the counter. I used it to charge $18,000 toward my daughter's wedding expenses. I did this knowing he refused to give me the money. I did it intentionally and without his permission. Judge Hayes turned to Sophie. And you, Miss Carter? Sophie's voice broke. I helped plan it. I told my mother where my brother kept his credit card. I knew the money was being stolen without permission. I spent that money on my wedding knowing it was stolen. The courtroom was silent. Judge Hayes stared at them for a long moment. Well done. The court accepts your guilty pleas. You'll each serve 4 years of probation, complete 250 hours of community service, and pay $18,000 in restitution, with an initial payment due in 45 days and the rest on a probation plan. You'll also attend court-ordered therapy. Any violation of probation terms will result in immediate jail time. They both nodded, humiliated. As the courtroom emptied, Mom spotted me in the back row. Our eyes met. Hers were filled with tears, defeat, maybe regret. I thought, well, tough. Outside, Sophie tried to approach me. Her lawyer pulled her back, probably worried she'd make things worse. She called out anyway. Ethan, can we please talk? I walked to my car without responding, got in, and drove away. 3 days after the hearing, my phone started ringing again. Mom first, then Sophie, then other family members. All wanted to talk, work things out, move past this. I ignored them all for 72 hours. Let them stew in the consequences of their actions. Let them wonder if I'd ever speak to them again. Then Friday morning, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered out of curiosity. Is this Ethan Carter? A woman's voice, professional and clipped. Yeah. Who's this? I'm Emily Walsh with Cornerstone Bank. I'm calling about Patricia and Sophie Carter. They've listed you as a contact for a loan application. My blood ran cold. What loan application? They're applying for an $18,000 joint personal loan to make the restitution payment to you, as ordered by the court. But due to their recent criminal convictions, the application's been flagged. We need to verify some details with you. So they were trying to take out a loan to pay me back, probably at a high interest rate, which they'd somehow blame on me later. I could almost hear it. Ethan forced us into a predatory loan. I'm not involved in their financial decisions, I said firmly. Whatever they choose to do is their business. Understood. I just needed to confirm you're the victim in their fraud case. We verified it with public records, so that's all I needed. Thank you for your time. She hung up. I sat there, thinking the 45-day restitution deadline was looming, and they didn't have the cash. Mom probably couldn't touch her trust fund yet, and Sophie had no income. Good. That afternoon, I finally called my father. Ethan, I've been trying to reach you. I saw the court records. Hell of a week. You could say that. Listen, I need to know how to enforce the forfeiture clause in Grandpa's trust. Mom was convicted of fraud against me. That triggers the clause, right? He was quiet for a moment. Yes, it does. You want to go through with it? Yeah, I want to enforce it. I'll email you the trustee documents. You'll need to notify the court and the trust administrator. Takes about 75 days to process, but once it's done, her share gets redistributed. You'll get the biggest portion since you're the victim. And Sophie's share falls under the same clause. If she's convicted of fraud against family, she loses it too. Both of them forfeit a total of $250,000. I let that sink in. $250,000, more than enough to cover what they stole from me 14 times over. Do it, I said. File the paperwork. That evening, I drove to my mother's house for the first time since the theft. Didn't go inside. Just sat in my car across the street, watching. The lights were on. I saw shadows moving inside. I wondered what they were saying, if they were arguing or crying, who they'd try to guilt trip next. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. I know you're outside. Please come in. We need to talk. Of course she saw me. Woman had hawk eyes. I got out of the car and walked to the front door. It opened before I could knock. Mom stood there, looking like she'd aged 12 years in 2 weeks. I stepped inside. Sophie was on the couch, looking just as wrecked. Mom gestured to the dining room table, covered in paperwork, loan applications, budget spreadsheets, bank statements. We need to talk about the restitution payment. We don't have $18,000 in liquid cash. The bank offered a loan, but the interest rate's 23%. It'll take us 7 years to pay off. Not my problem, I said flatly. Sophie's head snapped up. What do you mean, not your problem? You're the one who filed charges. You're the one who put us in this mess. No, you're the ones who stole from me. How can you be so heartless? Sophie stood, her voice rising. Family forgives each other. You're supposed to what? I cut her off. Let you rob me and then thank you? That's not how family works, Sophie. That's how abuse works. And I'm pretty sure family doesn't treat your apartment like a heist movie, but maybe I missed that Hallmark special. Mom raised a hand. Everyone, calm down. Ethan, please. There has to be a way to work this out. What if we set up a payment plan with you directly? Smaller amounts over time. You mean the 14-month plan your lawyer pitched that I already rejected? We're desperate, Mom said. For once, her voice lacked manipulation. If we take this loan, we'll be in debt for years. Sophie can't get a job because of her criminal record. I might lose my job if they run a background check for my license renewal. We're drowning here. I looked at them, saw the wreckage of their lives. Part of me felt satisfied, but another part, the part that remembered family dinners, birthdays, Mom teaching me to ride a bike, felt a flicker of something. Not forgiveness, not yet. Maybe never. But something softer than pure anger. Here's what's going to happen, I said quietly. You're going to take the loan. You're going to pay me back in full within 45 days, as the court ordered. And then you're both going to therapy, real therapy, not court-ordered counseling. You're going to figure out why you thought it was okay to treat me like your personal ATM for 27 years. Sophie opened her mouth to argue, but I raised a hand. And if you actually do the work, change, show real remorse over years, maybe we can rebuild something. But it won't be like before. It'll never be like before, because that version of our family was built on you two using me, and I'm done being used. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Ethan, please. There's something else. The trust fund. Your father said you're enforcing the forfeiture clause. That's our future. That's our security. So Dad had already told them. Good. Yeah, you committed fraud against me. Grandpa's trust is clear about what happens when you do that. Sophie shouted. That's $200,000. That's my inheritance. You can't just take it. I'm not taking it. You're forfeiting it. Big difference. Grandpa saw this coming. He knew what you were capable of and put in protections for the family. Now those protections are kicking in because you proved him right. Mom sank into a chair, face in her hands. We'll have nothing. No savings, no nest egg, nothing. You'll have what everyone else has, what you earn through your own work. Welcome to how the rest of us live. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by Sophie's quiet sobs. I felt no victory, just a strange emptiness, like I was closing the door on a chapter of my life I never wanted to write. I'm leaving now, I said, heading for the door. You've got 40 days to make the restitution payment. After that, we'll see. Ethan, wait. Mom's voice stopped me at the threshold. Do you hate us? I turned back. Instead of the manipulative mother who stole from me, I saw a broken woman who destroyed her own family with greed and favoritism. No, I said honestly. I don't hate you. I just don't trust you, and I'm not sure I ever will again. That's on you to fix, not me. I walked out, got in my car, and drove away. 5 weeks later, the first restitution payment hit my account on the last possible day before they'd violate probation. I deposited it, watched my savings balance return to normal, and felt a weight lift off my shoulders. 3 months later, the trust forfeiture was finalized. I received a check for $155,000 as my share of the redistributed funds. I deposited it in a high-yield savings account and didn't touch it. That money was my future, my emergency fund, my security blanket no one could steal. They could try, but we've seen how that plays out. Mom texted me occasionally. Updates on her therapy, apologies that felt more genuine each time. Small steps toward rebuilding a bridge. I replied sometimes, short, polite, distant. Sophie stopped reaching out after her 5th or 6th apology text went unanswered. I heard from family that Ryan had moved to another state, working at a call center to rebuild her life. Good. She needed to know what real work felt like. They tried to drown me with their entitlement and manipulation. Instead, they drowned themselves. I learned to swim.